Shep, in your story, you mentioned that some people think that the Aussie dollar could get to 120 versus the U.S. dollar. How likely?
Syracuse, Kansas, Louisville, Harvard. What's Harvard?
Wow, that'd be remarkable.
That's interesting. Can you do a little more on that?
Absolutely. It's
Hold on a second.
Paul, what are you doing?
Doing the show, man.
It looks like you're filling out a basketball bracket there.
Don't tell your boss.
I'm your boss, Paul.
Don't tell your boss. I gotta go, man. I gotta fill out my bracket, fellas. You do the show. That's cool. All right. Madness in the house here. Hello, everybody. I'm WSJ Live's Paul Vigna. You might remember me from some famous calls as the Giants will win Super Bowl 46. But I'll tell you what, basketball, the NCAA Tournament, completely different beast. There's a reason they call it March Madness. And to help you with this bracket, we have developed a little thing that I'm calling the Madness Show. I don't know what the final name is going to be, but I'm calling it the Madness Show. And to help me with it, because I am not a big basketball guy, anyone who knows me knows that, I've gotten some of the best journalists that we have here to help us with it. I am joined by, obviously, Darren Everson, Rachel Bachman, and to my left, Ben Cohen. I want to thank you guys for helping me because I am determined to win, to fill this thing out and to win this thing, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Just to be clear, how much longer are you going to ride this Giants thing? As the statute of limitations, I think, has run out on that.
I'm going to run it out probably 5 years past the statute of limitations, without a doubt.
Well, once the first round of the tournament's over, you can't want to ride anything else.
Once the first game's over. So listen, I want to start off. I want to ask you a strategy question.
Sure.
When you're trying to fill this thing out, should I go out in or in and out? Should I start off with who I think is going to win the championship and then work backwards, or should I just start picking games?
I kind of think so, because in a year like this, where there's one or two teams that everybody thinks is probably going to win, Kentucky or North Carolina, in some years there really isn't like a clear favorite like that, so you can kind of pick upsets. But this year, I think you need to start off and say, Kentucky's going to win the title and work from there. But, you know, there are a lot of different ways of going about this. Personally, that's the way I do it.
Yeah. What do you think, Rachel? What do you think?
I think that's wise. I think, Kentucky's the odds-on favorite, so you're going to be taking a risk in your pool if you pick anyone else. I see Florida State and Bonaventure. That seems like an easy one to me, right? A 3 versus a 14, is that an easy one?
Sure, but there are some 3-14s that are up for grabs this year. I mean, I knew as soon as the bracket came out and Kentucky and Carolina, which probably are the teams with the two most talent in the country, I knew that I wanted them in the finals. But then part of the fun of filling out the bracket is figuring out how they're going to get there. So even though I knew that they would be in the finals, the Florida State versus St. Bonaventure is the reason why we all fill out these brackets, right?
Right. So that leads me to the question. In the first couple of rounds, should you pick just the favorites, or should you try to pick I mean, we all know that there are upsets in this thing every year. That's what makes it really so exciting. But it's hard to pick those upsets. I mean, should I just pick all the 1s and 2s in the first round?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends. I mean, first of all, if you're going for bragging rights, that's where you get them. You're not going to get them in the late rounds because that's when the favorites take over typically. Right. So, it just depends on your strategy. If you want to be accurate, then you might want to play it a little safer. But, depends on your goal.
Yeah, my goal is to win this thing. So I want the law of large numbers on my side. So I'm thinking maybe I should just go all 1s and 2s for the first round, and then start picking some upsets.
Yeah, a 1 is never lost in the NCAA tournament first round, and there are some soft 3, 4s, and 5s this year. The 1s and 2s have kind of separated themselves, but the 3, 4, 5, 6, that's where you're going to get some value for your upsets.
Who's vulnerable?
There are a lot of teams that are vulnerable. Where should I be looking for some
good upsets?
One upset that I love is in the Midwest region, that 6-11, 3-14. I know Darren and I both think both San Diego State and Georgetown can both go down. NC State is actually favored in that game. They're the lowest seed to be favored. And Belmont is a team that stat geeks love. And Georgetown is a team that, Belmont. You might remember them. They gave Duke a run for their money in the first round of the tournament a couple years ago. And Georgetown is definitely vulnerable to a first round loss. You could have an 11 or 14 coming out of that pod right there.
Don't get too caught up with, the 8-9 matchup or just who's going to win these first round games. That doesn't decide who wins these pools. Because most pools, it's 1 point for the first round, 2 points, then 4, 8, and then it doubles. So that's not going to decide whether you win your bracket or not. It's funny, we always come in after the first weekend on Monday morning, checking out, who's in front? So-and-so has 2 more points than me. That's not how these things get decided. It's, do you get 3 or 4 of the final 4 right? Do you get the champion right? That's how it's decided.
All right, last question. 1-word answer. Who's going to win?
North Carolina.
Kentucky.
That's 2 words. Sparty, Michigan State.
All right, I'm going with Louisville. I'm sticking with it. I'm not afraid to do it. All right, listen, we're going to cut it off there. We're going to leave it there, but we will be with you throughout the tournament to help you. We'll come back in a little while. We'll see after the first round how things go. Thursday and Friday, do some work. Try to do some work, but pay a little bit of attention to this too. Have a little fun, and we'll talk to you soon.